Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to celebrate. President Trump and the American people's agenda has been delivered. And the man who probably had one of the most difficult jobs was Mr. Emmer, who actually had to whip and count all the votes and get everybody into line. So without further ado, our whip, Tom Emmer.
You know, Mr. Speaker, they always complain about such a small majority, but for us old hockey players, it's just fewer numbers to count. It works out much better. On November 5th, Americans elected a Republican House, a Republican Senate, and a Republican President with a mandate for change, a mandate to undo the failed policies of the last 4 years and to deliver on President Donald J. Trump's America First agenda. Today, we're all proud to report that by passing our one big, beautiful bill and sending it to President Trump's desk to be signed into law, we are fulfilling that mandate. This is a once-in-a-generation piece of legislation that secures our border, unleashes American energy, allows families to keep more of their hard-earned taxpayer dollars in their pockets, cuts waste, fraud, and abuse in government programs like SNAP and Medicaid, modernizes our air traffic control system, strengthens our national defense, and so much more, all while implementing the largest cut in mandatory spending in our history. To put it simply, this bill is President Trump's Make America Great Again agenda being codified into law. From Minnesota to Texas and Maine to California, there are wins in this legislation for every single American. And I couldn't be more proud to be part of the Republican team that got this thing across the finish line. I want to say thank you to our Speaker, Mike Johnson. We should also thank our leader, Steve Scalise. And while she won't tell you what she's doing, we got to give a big thank you to our conference chair, Lisa McLean. I want to thank the chairman of all our committees that worked on the reconciliation instructions for doing all the hard work behind the scenes of putting this bill together. And most importantly, and people who know me know that it's about the team, I want to thank the members of our House Republican Conference for uniting as a team and getting this thing done. As we've said a million times before, do not underestimate the Republican majority in the House, the mighty majority in the House. This legislative process may not always look pretty, and there will always be many tough fights, but one thing is certain: we will always deliver on our promises to the American people. And with that, I turn it over to our great leader, Mr. Scalise.
Well, thank you, Whip, and what a beautiful day here in America. It is the golden age of America again. America's coming back. And I tell you, a lot of people wrote this bill off for dead. Nobody said it would be easy. But you know what? We didn't come here to do easy things. We came here to do big things. We came here to make history. We came here to deliver on the promises we made to the American people, to fight for them and to take power out of Washington and give it back to those families who have been struggling for way too long. Now, we had a little bit of debate on the floor today. You got to see a difference between the two parties in Washington, maybe more crystallized than we've ever seen before. And I think that's a good thing. I hope America watched all of it. Watched Democrats falling asleep behind their leader as he went on and on trying to scare the American people with lies, with scare tactics, with depressing stories about things that will never happen unless Democrats keep running this country. But the American people said, we will not live in fear. We are not a country of fear. We're a country of hope. We're a country of optimism. We're a country that believes our brightest days are ahead, and they elected Republicans to deliver on those brighter days. And I think maybe their leader wanted to speak for hours and hours and break records because they wanted to stand in the way of history. But history is not going to be denied. We were elected with a purpose. Donald Trump ran all around this country. He went to swing states that they said Republicans could never win. And he didn't give different messages to different places. A lot of us traveled with the president. And the one thing you can say about Donald Trump is it doesn't matter where he went. When you listen to his speech, it was probably going to be a little bit longer than the paper that was written. Might have been about a 15-minute long speech because President Trump speaks from the heart. President Trump expanded our base. It wasn't just the typical Republican voters. It was people of all walks of life, people who had given up on Washington because Washington gave up on them, and they finally saw a leader who was willing to fight for the hardworking people of this country. That's who Donald Trump has always been. And all the people that knock Donald Trump ignore one important fact. There is no better, more passionate fighter for America and its hope and promise than Donald J. Trump. And President Trump said at every stop, if you elect me, if you give me a Republican House and a Republican Senate, these are the things I will do. It was kind of historic in a lot of ways. It should be commonplace that a presidential candidate runs on specific things and then delivers on every single thing he ran on. He said, I'm going to secure America's border. His opponents said they were going to keep the border open. He said, I'm going to actually make our country energy independent again and end the war, the attack on American energy that we've seen for 4 years, crush jobs, crush the economy, force families to pay too much for gasoline, and embolden the enemies of our nation like Russia, Iran, and others. And those days are over with this one big, beautiful bill. And President Trump said a lot of other things, but what American people knew about not only electing Donald Trump, but about keeping this House majority and about electing a Republican Senate is that they said, we're going to entrust this group of people to go and be different and to deliver on those promises. And when you look through all the historic things in this one big, beautiful bill, the wins for hard-working families, win after win after win, it's delivering on those promises. We are going to see economic growth. When Donald Trump signs this bill tomorrow on America's birthday, the independence of our nation, you will start seeing historic growth like we've never seen before. I've been proud to work on a lot of important pieces of legislation. There is not one group of people, and there is not one bigger piece of legislation that will deliver more great benefits for the hardworking families who have been struggling in this country than this one big, beautiful bill. There's a reason it was hard. There's a reason that it wasn't 2 committees like Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. It was 11 committees involved. Historic. We made great historic reforms in education policy. First ever repeal of a Second Amendment tax in the history of our country. A constitutional right being taxed, gone in this bill. You've heard about a lot of the other provisions. One of the things you didn't hear about is school choice. Federal school choice for the first time ever. So low-income families will have an opportunity to get their kids out of failing schools. Every Democrat voted against all of those things. And they're going to have to explain that. Once the lies and the hot air and the long-winded speeches are over, people are going to go, I'm better off today now that this bill's signed into law and all the things you said didn't happen. But the